Hello fellow YouTubers, this is Tony. Today we're going to show you the location and how to replace the crank sensor on a 2015 Honda Accord 2.4 liter. Here are all the tools you'll need to do the job successfully. A pair of needle nose pliers, a magnet, a 10mm wrench, a new crank sensor of course, a 1/4 inch short driver and socket, and notice that out of that socket there is a 10mm bolt that has been taped down. I'll show you why I've done that and why it's beneficial to you in this video a little bit later. You'll need a 1/4 inch ratchet as well. Once you have jacked the car up on jack stands and know that the car is secure and safe, then you can get started. So let's get started. I promise you this won't be one of those videos that's filled with all kinds of bells and whistles and gadgets that you see in most videos. However, it will successfully show you the location of and how to replace the crank sensor on this particular vehicle. The crank sensor on this car is located just below the drive axle on the front of the car. It is protected by a heat shield, which is held in by two 10mm bolts. Once you remove those two 10mm bolts, you will then see the wire connector. Push this tab in and pull the connector away from the crank sensor. There's your crank sensor, which is also held in a 10mm bolt. Once you remove that bolt, take your hand and grab the crank sensor and give it a couple wiggles. If it does not come out by hand, take your needle nose pliers and give it a couple wiggles, and the crank sensor should come out with no problems at all. I've gone ahead and already replaced the crank sensor with the new one to help make this video shorter and easier for you. Note, before you install the new crank sensor, take some fresh motor oil and coat the orange O-ring of the new crank sensor. That helps the O-ring seal from drying out when the engine gets exceptionally hot. Once you reinstall your new crank sensor, reinstall your old bolt. Just turn it until it's nice and snug, and then you're pretty much done with that. All you have to do after that is simply reconnect the connector. So let's do that. Sort of get that into place. It's a tight spot down here, so just take your time. Once you've got that into place, simply push it in until you hear the tabs click, and you're pretty much done. It's really tight down here, guys, so you won't be able to get a ratchet in this particular corner. When you go to reinsert the 10mm bolt for the heat shield, simply use your wrench on this side. Remember earlier I showed you that bolt that was taped down into the 10mm socket? The reason I've done that is because back in this corner it's kind of hard to get your hand back here. So when you tape that bolt down, you can just stick it back in the corner. And start to turn it in. And when you turn it in, what that tape does is it keeps the bolt from falling, so you don't have to worry about going through that hassle. So you turn it in until it's nice and snug. Then on the right side, you want to take your 10mm bolt and slowly thread that bolt in. It should go in with no problems and should be pretty much lined up. Again, guys, not a lot of room to work with down here, so just be patient when you're threading this stuff. You turn that bolt until it's hand tight. And then you take your 10mm wrench and just give it 1 or 2 little turns until it's nice and snug, because you don't want that heat shield to rattle. Then on this side, you take your ratchet, reinsert it, and just give it a little turn till it's snug, and you're pretty much done. If you installed a new crank sensor simply because the car would not start, then you'll need to have access to a code reader to reset the check engine light. If you do not have access to a code reader, just simply disconnect the car's battery for 10 minutes and that will automatically reset the check engine light. If you replace the crank sensor simply because of maintenance, just simply lower the car off the jack stands and start the car, and it should start with no problems. While you're down here, if you're looking for the location of your starter, let's see if I can get you a good picture of it. There's your starter, fairly easy to get to. While you're down here, if you're looking for the location of your knock sensor, there's your knock sensor straight ahead, fairly easy to change or replace. As promised, this is not the prettiest video ever. It's not filled with bells, whistles, and gadgets, as my videos are intended to help you solve your problem as quick as possible and easy. I hope this video helps. If you have any questions, please send me a message. Thanks for watching.